Good evening. You're watching Act One. Act One stands for Acadian Take on News Events, and my station normally talk about current things of a more political nature. Things like what's happening in Minneapolis, Iran, Israel, the Palestinians, that kind of stuff. The Canadian political scene, the American political scene. But today I'm going kind of off brand a little bit. I'm going to talk about baseball and more specifically about the Toronto Blue Jays. So, if you're new to the station, if you're chancing in, because all baseball fans are paying attention to the fact that Kyle Tucker, an outfielder who most recently played for the Chicago Cubs, that he is now signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers, the two-time World Series champions, Los Angeles Dodgers. He signed a 4-year contract worth $240 million, money that I can't fathom that amount of money. Goodness knows, I certainly don't make that much doing these stupid little YouTube videos, but I enjoy it. I enjoy throwing myself out there, uh, injecting my voice into the public discourse, as I like to say. And like I say, normally I talk about more weighty issues, but baseball's a wonderful distraction. It's a great pastime. I've played the game. I've been a Jays fan. I'd like to say a lifelong Blue Jays fan, but the fact is, I'm older than the Blue Jays. I was born in '66. The Blue Jays didn't come into being until 1977, and when I was 11. And at that time, when the Blue Jays came into existence, I was living in um, Burlington, Ontario. And as a matter of fact, Tom Cheek, and longtime Jays fans will know the name Tom Cheek. Tom Cheek's youngest son, he had two, Tom Cheek's youngest son was a classmate of mine, although I never really got to know him. He came into the class in the middle of the year, and I kind of gravitated toward him because I had only just moved to Burlington, Ontario from Glen Rock, New Jersey. But whatever the case, Anna Monarchy has shown up and is saying that he'll have to leave by 12 because Anna Monarchy is a regular viewer of the stream, and he's leading a challenging life, and he jumps onto the streams from Tim Hortons, from coffee shops, restaurants where they have Wi-Fi. Uh, uh, and he's saying it's too cold to hang outside. Bundle up, my friend, keep warm, stay well, praying for you, not as much as I should. You've just given me a reminder. And yes, these are first world problems. But let's get into the Blue Jays. I'm going to say they're going to be fine. I say they're 100% okay not having signed Kyle Tucker. Would they have been better with him in the lineup? I think so, yes. Meet my dog. This is Max, the Wonder Pup. And he is still a puppy. He's 5 months old, 5.5. He was born August 3rd. So he's coming up on 6 months. And I've been conditioned, or I've conditioned him, and he has conditioned me that I'm supposed to give him a TREAT at the start of my videos, but I don't have one for you. Let me go get my dog a treat. So take a break. We're going to get into the Blue Jays. I've got some definitive thoughts that I want to express. I think the Jays are poised to run it back. And by that, I mean, I think they're going to win the AL East next year. New York, I think I think they're going to fall down. I think they're going to fall back. Boston, the Orioles, um, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is always a problem. Yeah. Nancy, who's a moderator on the stream, I let her know I was going live. But I said, if you want to skip it, I get it. I'm not talking about my normal stuff tonight. I'm talking Blue Jays. Let me get this dog his treat. Otherwise, he'll be like this for the next half hour or however long I go. Milk bones. There it is. I'll give you the whole thing. All right. Sit, 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 shake a paw. Good boy. Okay, come up. There you go. Go get your treat. All right, go chill out and eat it. All right. Anyone who's new, I see I've got 8 or so people watching the stream right now. The live chat is there. Fill it up. You can disagree with me if you think I'm out to lunch, if you think the Jays are going to crater now because they did not sign Kyle Tucker. It's looking very unlikely that they'll sign Bo Bichette, but that's up in the air. I mean, now that Tucker's gone and is no longer available, will they step it up and increase their offer to Bo Bichette? I hope they don't. I do not think they need Bo Bichette. So why do I think the Jays are going to do better in 2026? I think they're going to do better than they did in 2025. The Jays have never won 100 games in a season. I think their highest, I'd have to check, but I believe it's 99 in either the 92 or 93 season. I don't think that I know they've never won 100 games in a season, and I think there's a good chance that if they don't win 100, they could be darn close, 97, 98, 99, because the team is so well constructed. And I have a broad-based opinion, and it is this. Uh, Prime time for a Major League Baseball player, in my estimation, is between the ages of 28 and 32. I think that is in the sport of baseball, for me, that is prime. That is when players are at their best. In other sports, I think it's more around the 25-year age. But other sports are far more physical. Hockey, basketball, football. Baseball is so mental, and I think you players can constantly get better right up until in around 30, and then they can stay at that elite level. The best players can stay at that elite level for 2 or 3 years after their 30th birthday, and then age eventually catches up to everyone. It certainly has caught up to me. I can't take it to the hole the way I used to in the game of basketball. That's for darn sure. Can still handle the rock. I can still handle the ball and everything. But when I, go to make the moves that I made in my youth, uh, I'm doing it in my mind, but the body isn't coming along with me. So taking that pretext that 28 to 32 for me represents the player's prime time. Let's look at the Jays lineup as it's currently constructed and look at the lineup that John Schneider is going to be penciling in pretty much every day, barring injuries, barring unforeseen circumstances. Obviously, we've got Vladimir Guerrero at first base, our $500 million man, the face of the franchise. And he had a good 2024 to 2025. He had a good year last year. And the postseason, he was off the charts. But the regular season, the 2025 regular season, was solid. It wasn't spectacular. It wasn't going to put him into consideration for MVP. He was nowhere near the level of Aaron Judge in New York. And what's that? Cal Raleigh, the catcher for the Seattle Mariners. He was nowhere near their level. He had an OPS, that's on base plus slugging, which is a newer stat. When I started watching baseball and really jumping in the 80s, OPS was not all you worried about was batting average, runs scored, home runs, RBIs. Those were the metrics. That was it. Now, in this post Moneyball, Bill James, sabermetrics, advanced metric calculations, you have so much more to go with. So 848 was his OPS, which is strong. Which is anything 700 plus is good. This is my ranking. 700 plus, you're doing good. 800 plus, now you're all-star level. You get up over 1,000, 900, 1,000. Now you're MVP caliber. So again, solid season. He scored 96 runs. And 100 for me, and for a lot of old guys like me, is kind of a magic number. So he's darn close. 23 home runs, 84 RBIs. The new metric that everyone likes to use. For a WAR, his win above replacement 4.6. So very solid year. Can he get better? I think so. I think Vladdy is the type of player who is capable of getting that WAR over 200. Not the WAR, sorry, his OPS. I think his OPS for a regular season can go over 900 easily, and maybe even over 1,000. Certainly if he plays like he did during the playoffs, if he can maintain that over a 162 game regular season, wow. And that's what I love about the game of baseball. Baseball is so much like the game of life. You don't always, when you're playing, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 days in a row before you get a day off, it's a grind like life. And to maintain that level, through the grinding it out, is amazing. But I think that, his numbers could easily improve next year. And Vladimir Guerrero, at the end of next year, he'll still only be 27 years of age, not even yet in what I consider to be prime time. Still lots of room to grow. And then we'll move over to second base, which it looks, with the recent signing of Okamoto, or however you pronounce that guy's name, the Japanese star from coming over. Ernie Clement is going to be our everyday. He'll be our opening day and everyday starting second baseman. He had an OPS of 711. Solid, good. I don't consider that for OPS to be all-star level, but it's decent, it's strong. He scored 83 runs as pretty much an everyday player, but Ernie was playing everywhere. He was playing second, he was playing third, he played the odd game at shortstop. I think he had a couple stints at first base even. He is incredibly versatile on the defensive side. He was nominated and probably should have won the Gold Glove for utility players. He didn't, he came in second. But anyway, 83 runs scored, 9 home runs. Not sure how many RBIs he got. I didn't write it down well. Let's see. I wonder how many RBIs did he get last year? Ernie, if I could type, Ernie Clement. How many RBIs? He had 50 RBIs last year. I'd written down the 5. I hadn't written down the 0. So 50 RBIs. I think Ernie Clement, he's going to be, it'll be interesting to see where does John Schneider place him in the batting order, because the batting order is so strong. But based on his performance in the postseason, I think he deserves to be a top 5 player in the batting order. And his WAR, his wins above replacement, was 4.3. And how old is Ernie Clement? 30, right in his prime. That is the age he will be at the end of the season. That's the way I'm going on age. How old will they be when the 2026 season ends? Ernie's going to be 30, right in his prime. So I absolutely 100% think that Ernie Clement could have a better year this year than he did last year, over 162 games. Next up, we have Andrés Giménez, a name that every time I have to write it, I have to go and look it up because it has accents in it. I see I have a lot of people watching. Chime in. What do you think? What do you think? Are the Jays going to be better this year, coming up, 2026, or are they going to fall back some? I say they're going to be better. I say they're going to be significantly better, even without Kyle Tucker, even if they fail to bring back Bo Bichette. And as I said earlier, I don't think they should bring back Bo Bichette. I think it creates more challenges. I think it creates more problems than problems being solved. I think it's a net detractor if they bring him back. Giménez is his OPS was only 598. So not even 600. So that is low, but we're talking about a guy who you expect to bat 9. He's a number 9 hitter. And if you're expecting, you know, 7, 8, 900 OPS from a number 9 hitter, then you've got a team that is like the Yankees murderers row. Not going to happen. Whale oil beef has shown up. Swing hard in case you hit it. My motto. And he's saying he only played scrub baseball in when he was in grade school. Yeah. Now that seems to be a player we're going to get to later, Addison Barger, who swings as hard as anybody pretty much in the game of baseball. But I'm right now dealing with our shortstop, Giménez. He's a huge improvement over Bichette defensively, better range, better arm, better instincts. He is a elite level shortstop. Gold Glove, possible. With Bichette, never. With Bichette, you knew that Bichette was never going to win a Gold Glove. Never. What? Never going to happen. Giménez, it's possible he could. So he had a 598 OPS, scored 39 runs, hit 7 home runs, 35 RBIs. His WAR was just his wins above replacement was just 1.1, but he's on the positive side. And he, at the end of next year, will be 28 years of age, only 28. So again, I think there's very much potential to see improvement in those numbers. And again, remember, he was clutch. He had a couple key home runs in the postseason. He is, and he, given his age, last year he finished the year, was his age 27 season. He's entering his age 28 season. I'm expecting to see, at least those numbers and probably better. And then there's an unknown quantity here, and the unknown quantity is this Okamoto, however you pronounce the name, Kazam KO. That is what I'm going to call our new third baseman. And I think it's a cool nickname, Knockout, KO. Big bat. Can he hit 15, 20 home runs, drive in 70, 80 RBIs? We don't know. He is completely an unknown at this point, and that's fine. Like I say, there isn't a team in baseball that is stacked 1 through 9 in the batting order. He's probably a guy who will start the year batting 7, 8, 9, and then based on performance might move up. Whereas other players who are struggling might be moved down. If Ernie Clement is, going through a rough stretch, move him down, move someone who's playing well, move them up. Let's see what's being written. Monarchy is heading out. Keep warm, keep well, my friend. And Wales wishing Monarchy as well good health and a good year. Anyway, so that's KO. So that's a question mark. The next guy, of course, is Alejandro Kirk, our catcher, and he had a OPS of 769, so solid, not necessarily, not 800 is kind of my all-star level. Not quite there, but very close. And he scored 45 runs, hit 15 home runs, had 76 RBIs. That is an all-star caliber season in my books, the OPS notwithstanding. I didn't write down his wins above replacement, and I'm not going to bother checking back on it. But I think most will agree we are incredibly strong. We have one of the top catchers in baseball. in Alejandro Kirk. And Tyler Heineman, the backup, he had an otherworldly season for a lot of the season. He was batting well above 300. He was like 350, 360, 330 for a long time. Then he cooled off in the latter part of the year, but he still finished, I forget what his batting average was, to 270, 280, maybe even 290. But regardless, Heineman is the backup. And, if you're worried about having a strong backup catcher, you're in trouble. If Heineman can do what he did last year, we're fine. I don't even think he has to perform at the same level for us to be fine. Backup catcher. Next up, I'm going to go to right field, where Addison Barger is probably going to be penciled in as an everyday player. Lefty, righty, doesn't matter. A lot of time last year, he would be sitting on the bench against tough left-handers. That's not going to happen in 2026. And he had an OPS of 708. He had 61 runs scored, 21 home runs, 74 RBIs. His wins above replacement was only 1.3. I think, we're going to see him getting into 155, 160 games. I don't think anyone will play all 162. But here's a guy who this will be his third season coming up in the majors, his second full season. So will there be, it's something, this will only be his second full season in um, in Major League Baseball. And there's something called the sophomore jinx, although Barger did play some in 2024. He had more than a cup of coffee. So I'm expecting him to improve. And he had a OPS of 708. I think that can go up. 700 is decent. 61 RB or 61 runs. I already went through his numbers. And Barger's only 26, close to rookie age. You talk about room for improvement. The way he mashes the ball, I don't think in his career, a season with 30, maybe 40 home runs, maybe more. I don't think that's out of the question at all. This guy, you look at him, I love Barger. You might have guessed that. Guy has an absolute cannon for an arm. I actually think his best position is third base based on his arm. But with KO coming in, I didn't say KO, this guy coming over from Japan, Okamoto, or however you pronounce it. He's 30. He's right in his prime as well. And this is getting back to this theme that I have, that prime time for Major League Baseball players is age 28, 32. And Vladdy, 27. Clement, 30. Giménez, 28. KO. Okamoto, 30. Alejandro Kirk, 27. Addison Barger, 26. Everyone so far that I've gone through is either just coming into their prime or they're in it. That's why the Jays are going to be so darn good next year, in my opinion. The next guy is Dalton Varsho, and he had an OPS of 833, all-star caliber in my books, 833. He had 43 runs scored. He had 20 home runs, 55 RBIs. His numbers, his production numbers, the 20 home runs, 55 RBIs, the 43 runs scored, were impacted heavily by his injury issues. I know there was a hamstring issue that he had, and there was something else, I forget, at the start of last year, which made the acquisition of Miles Straw monumental. Miles Straw is really a filler type piece, but center field is an important position. You need someone who can cover the gaps. And Miles Straw, as he showed with a throw in during the playoffs, I think it was in the World Series. I can't remember if it was in the divisional series or in the ALCS, but he made a spectacular play where was able to gun a guy was gunned down at third base because of Miles Straw's instincts in that for that position. Um, and Whale Oil Beef made a remark with respect to Max having been jumping all up on me, and he wrote, "This is where the treats are, according to your partner podcaster." Yeah, 5 month old puppy. Anyway, so Barger 26, and then Dalton Varsho 30, right in his prime. Big question is, can he stay healthy? We've seen throughout his career now that, like Bo Bichette, even like Kyle Tucker, Dalton Varsho has been prone to injury. Hopefully, if he can stay healthy all year, what are we looking at? 25, 30, 35 home runs? We'll find out. It's a wait and see there, but certainly solid there. And if he does go down, we've got options. We have Miles Straw, we have Loper Fido, we have guys who can fill in. So, anyway, moving on. Then we have another something of a question mark, Anthony Santander. And he was injured pretty much the whole year. He hardly played at all last year. He had an OPS of just 565. 16 runs scored, 6 home runs, 18 RBIs. He is a massive question mark. But I can't see his production being worse than it was. And I expect, given his significant contract, I forget how much he's making. I think it's, I don't know what the annual value, the average annual value is on it, but I think he's up 20 plus million a year. He was the major acquisition for the 2025 season, and no fault of his own. You get hurt, you get hurt. You can't produce when you're hurt. You can't do anything from the injured list when you're disabled. But if he comes back healthy, I don't think it's unreasonable to expect those numbers to go way up. We'll have to wait and see. Santander is a notorious slow starter, apparently. So I'm going to have to he's a veteran, and he's making a lot of money. So you have to give him a lot of leeway, got to give him some rope. You got to let him get through April and into May before you start. If he struggles in April and continues struggling in May, then you start to look down your bench. Loper Fido, Miles Straw, Davis Schneider, Nathan Lucas, a name that I hate because it's spelt Lukes. I like names to be pronounced the way they're spelled, but it is what it is. That's the thing. The Jays have an incredibly strong lineup on paper to start the season, and then they've got options in behind. They have depth. They have depth in the outfield. They have depth in the infield, thanks to Barger's versatility. So, and Davis Schneider's versatility. He can play left field or second. So Anthony Santander is 31. He is, again, a prime time player. Every one of the 8 players I've just gone through, Vlad, Clement, Giménez, KO, Alejandro Kirk, Addison Barger, Dalton Varsho, and Anthony Santander, they are all, the oldest guy is Anthony Santander of that group, 31. And this is the players who are on the field, minus the pitcher. And I will get on to the pitching. So we're stacked. And then another wild card, the only guy who I think it is reasonable to expect some regression from is our DH, George Springer. This past year, in his age, what was his age 36 season was off the charts, 959 OPS. That's unbelievable. 106, 106 runs scored, 32 home runs, 84 RBIs. And from a 36-year-old player, that's incredible. At the end of next year, George Springer will be 37. And I think it's reasonable to expect that these numbers are going to decline. This is the one player where in their lineup where I think it's reasonable to expect that we can expect some regression from George Springer, but nobody else. The rest, I think all of them have the potential to increase their production from last year. Does that mean they'll all do it? Of course not. I expect there to be injuries. I expect there to be slumps. I expect some players to struggle. It's going to happen. But I think, broadly speaking, overall, I expect the numbers to be better. We're a stronger team going into this year than we were last year. And then you look at the pitching, and we are absolutely stacked. And leaving aside Cease, who was signed from San Diego with the 210 million 7-year, 30 million a year and average annual value for the next 7 years, leaving even him and Ponce, who was signed, who had pitched in Korea, leaving them out. The biggest plus from the start of last year to the start of this coming year is Trey Yesavage. He only started 3 games in September last year, and we're going to have him on opening day. Gaussman, probably, some regression should be expected there, but we have so much more depth now. We're starting the year with Shane Bieber, a former Cy Young Award winner. And then there is so much depth on the pitching side. So probably opening day starter Gaussman, number 2 guy Shane Bieber, number 3 guy Trey Yesavage. That is a pretty strong opening 3. And if you can get to the postseason, your top 3 are what matter. You can often get by with just 2 top starters in the postseason. Jose Barrios may be traded. And help me out if there are any other big time Blue Jay fans here. I don't consider myself to be a Blue Jay. There are YouTube stations dedicated specifically to the Blue Jays, and I expect those guys to know the starting rotations, what the guys' records were. I'm not that deep. And right now I'm having trouble remembering what the starting rotation is going to be like for next year. We're going to have Gaussman, we're going to have Shane Bieber, we're going to have Trey Yesavage. Barrios is a bit of a question mark. There's a lot of expectation that he might be traded. I've got Ryan saying re-sign Tyler Rogers is to 2. He's a really good relief pitcher. Tyler Rogers? Are you talking about the player that is he not the player that the side armor, submarine reliever, late inning, kind of a bridge guy, 7th, 8th, 6th, 7th, 8th inning guy that they got from the Mets? We've helped our rotation. Yes. Okay. Like I say, I follow it, but I'm not religious about baseball. It is a beautiful diversion. And I love the idea of having a submarine side armor. I remember the days of Mark Eichhorn. I'm old enough to remember the days of Dan Quisenberry and Ken Tekulve. And I used to pitch. I stopped when I was 16 or 17. That was the last year I played baseball. And I wasn't very good. I just loved playing baseball. And when I was a pitcher, what happened was I was playing for Pickering, and I wanted to be a pitcher. And at the start of the year, I started out trying out to be a pitcher and was deemed not good enough. We had a guy named Vince who probably threw 75, 80 miles an hour and had control. We had a guy named Marcus who could throw hard, and he threw junk. He could throw a knuckleball, he could throw a curve. Marcus loved his junk. And then we had a guy named Dave to be a reliever. And when you're playing, baseball 16, 17, that level, you don't need a 10-man pitching staff. So I ended up playing third base, strong arm, not killer. No, I didn't have an arm like Vince, but I had a decently strong arm, reasonably accurate. So I was at the hot corner. And then we had a game against Ajax that was an exhibition game, and I'd been working on my pitching. And when I'd started pitching, I was trying to throw over the top. I was trying to come from 11, 12 o'clock and come down. But the problem was a lot of the times I was bouncing the ball in. It wasn't that I wasn't throwing hard enough, it was just the trajectory. And so I was deemed not good enough. But I kept working on my pitching. And I started off sidearm and then I worked my way up and I got to about a 3/4 delivery and found I could throw strikes. So in an exhibition game, I went up to the manager and said, "I've been working on my pitching. Can I pitch?" And Joe was like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead, you can pitch." And I went out and I did decent. I, pitched 4 or 5 innings, gave up 2 or 3 runs, and then I started to get some pitching. I started to get some games, and Marcus, the number 2 pitcher, we only had 2 starters. Marcus got ticked off because he thought he was the number 1 guy. He thought he should be number 1. So he quit the team. And that then elevated me, and I became the second starter after our ace, Vince. And I learned one thing in pitching. My dad taught me this. Um, Many will have heard of the ethos pitch, where you go high and low, like men's slow pitch, and you throw it high and low. My dad said, throw it softer, throw it soft. It'll screw them up. So I would sit there and literally, if I got to 2 strikes on a batter, I would almost literally go, okay, you ready? Here it is, and throw it in as soft as I could for a strike. And we're talking about 16, 17-year-olds. We're up there and they're like, oh, I'm going to kill it. Oh, I'm going to kill it. All year throwing that ethos style pitch. I only got taken deep once. And every other time, it was either a complete swing and a miss, or it would be beaten into the ground or popped a mile high in the air. It was a great pitch. And that's why I love seeing a guy like this, Tyler. Uh, he'd written it down, Tyler Rogers being signed by the Jays, because it gives the hitters a completely different look. Imagine going from Trey Savage, who's coming from 11:45, 12 o'clock midnight, straight down. So you're up there and you're trying to, at the plate, and you're trying to keep an eye up there for the ball, and it's coming down on a trajectory like this, and then you got to switch up to Tyler. I got to keep looking. Tyler Rogers, the name isn't embedded yet, and you got to look down for a ball that's coming up. It's going to mess guys up. And then you bring in Hoffman, and I know a lot of people, he blew 7 saves over the course of last year, but I think he was treated a little unfairly. He didn't have a great season, fair enough, but it wasn't horrible either. I forget how many saves he had, but it was around 30. He had a solid season overall. When he was bad, he was very bad. He's had some very bad stretches and when you're a reliever, especially a closer, and you go out and you give up 3 or 4 runs, well, for a guy who's only pitching a third, 2/3 an inning each time going out, that really will impact the ERA, the earned run average. A bad outing for a closer is really going to impact a closer's ERA. Uh, so, at any rate, the Jays are going to be fine. The Jays are going to be fine. Obviously, that's a prediction. Obviously, I could be wrong. This is why they play the games. You know, a guy like Vladimir Guerrero, if he gets hurt, we're in trouble. If other player, if a guy like Ernie Clement struggles hard, any number of things can happen. But given the age of the core of the Toronto Blue Jays, they're all every guy playing the field, all their position players are either in their prime or just coming up to their prime. And I define prime as age 28 to age 32. And the Jays are all either in, the oldest guy in the starting lineup on opening day, assuming nothing happens to Anthony Santander. He's the one. He's the oldest guy fielding a position, 31 years of age. I think hindsight's 2020. Should they have signed him last year? Well, I think it's obvious to say no. They should have saved the money. They should have saved the money to, use it in another area. Um, but that's hindsight. We know now that, he only hit 6 home runs. He only batted in 18. He was hurt most of the year. But going into the year, here's a guy who's, probably penciled in to hit 35, 40 home runs, at least 80, 90 RBIs. And then he gets hurt. But thankfully, we had Nathan Lucas. We had, Joey Loperfido was hitting north of 300 for much of the year. We've got depth players. We're good. The Jays I'm predicting 100 wins. I'll say it, 100. Now, will I be right? Probably not. It'd be nice if it's north of that, but I think they'll win more than the 94 they won last year. And then you have the playoffs. If they can win the division again, be one of the top 2 teams in the American League, then they get that, they don't have to play in the wild card round. Then they can go straight to the divisional series. So, and then we'll see what happens. We've got great starting pitching. I think we have a solid bullpen. We'll see how this Tyler Rogers works out. I expect him to work out great, especially considering he's coming over from the National League. So the American Leaguers, by and large, they will not have seen him. And there aren't very many submariners in the game anymore. I always found that incredibly surprising because Dan Quisenberry, World Series winner, Rolaids Relief, went back when they called it the Rolaids Relief Award winner for being the top reliever in the game. It was always a closer, a Goose Gossage, a Willie Hernandez, a Dan Quisenberry. And I was so surprised that given the success Dan Quisenberry had, that there aren't more submariners. The 3 I can name, elite level, Mark Eichhorn, who should have won Rookie of the Year, should have gotten Cy Young votes for his rookie year. I forget what year it was, 87, 88, in that area, 89. Absolutely incredible pitcher. He was more of a side armor, but he threw so slow that it baffled hitters. They didn't know what to do. They're used to seeing, 90 plus. And now all of a sudden, this Mark Eichhorn comes in and he's throwing the ball 60, 70 miles an hour. And with movement, it was a big, like what we call a sweeper today. Anyway, I've been rambling on for 45 minutes. Thanks for watching. What do you think if you watch this on replay? I'm saying the Jays, all their players, their lineup is stacked with players who are all either just coming into their prime or are already in their prime. Oldest guy, 31 years of age, Anthony Santander. And if for whatever reason, if he's not working out, we got Nathan Lucas behind him. We've got, Davis Schneider, who I love. I love Davis Schneider. I love the story of a guy who's picked 50, the 786 pick overall in the draft, whatever he was. A guy, here's your signing bonus. It's a bat and a bag of baseballs. Like he had no business making it to the major leagues. He's a filler piece. When they go to the instructional league, he's fighting for time. Okay, we'll let you play a couple innings. He's hardly getting to play. He's there as filler to give the more important players, the higher picks, a little time off, a little time to recuperate, a little time for coaching. Okay, throw that Schneider kid in there and let's work on, you backhanding the ball. let's work on your outside of the plate coverage. Scheider, we're not going to, no extra coaching for you. You were picked 893rd or whatever he was. And I love seeing a player like that make it into the major leagues and then to have some success. And when he came in a couple years back, when he came in against Boston, they started calling him Babe because every other at bat he was hitting it out of the park. Yeah. But as always happens in baseball, he comes up, pitcher's like, who is this guy? I've never seen him before. There's no real book on him. Oh, well, throw fastball, bang, gone. And then when it's determined that the guy has some skill, then the pitcher and the catcher, okay, if this guy comes up to bat, here are his weak areas. Start him off high and tight, and then work to the outside corner, and you'll get him every time, or whatever the case may be. Anyway, I've got Bloodhound Little Jeff saying, the Blue Jays lose. Well, I'll tell you, last year was an incredible. They went from being not a playoff team in 2024 to coming this close. If Isaiah Kiner Falefa had been a foot further down the third base line on that play at home plate, I wonder if he had not slid, if he'd run through home plate like it was first base. I don't know if he could have done it. I got to rewatch it to see if that would even be feasible. But if he hadn't gone into a slide and if he was capable of just running through home plate like a play at first base, would he have been safe? So damn close. And you're going up against the team with the highest payroll. I mean, the Jays are swimming in the deep end of the pool. Finally, they're a big market team. They're spending the bucks. They're competing for the free agents. Yeah, they lost out on Kyle Tucker, but they won they brought in Dylan Cease. Money isn't an object. The players are not shunning them. I think in the case of Kyle Tucker, I mean, $60 million a year. And he's got Boras as an agent. And it's like, you got to take this deal. It increases the average salary for major league players, and it moves the bar higher. You have to take this. And he had no choice but to sign with LA. When it came to Ohtani, when he signed with LA, when he was using he and his agents were using the Blue Jays as cannon fodder. They were using the Jays to bid to get the price high enough. The Jays never had a chance. The Jays did have a chance with Kyle Tucker. They were willing to go long term. Reportedly, they were willing to go as long as 10 years. But it wouldn't, when you're looking at, they're not going to go 10 years for 600 million. They're not going to match average annual value of $60 million a year. And apparently Kyle Tucker's contract includes opt-outs, probably two. I would imagine it's $50 million a year, guaranteed for the first 2 years with a player option to opt out in the third or fourth year. But he's going to be making $60 million. We'll see what happens in the market. I imagine I'm talking about these oldsters, Dan Quisenberry's, Kent Tekulve's, the Mark Eichhorns. I wonder what these guys think when they see the contracts being signed now. Vladimir, 500 million, for 13 or 14 years. Shohei Ohtani, north of 700 million. Santo, the money that's Stanton, the money that's being thrown around now, back in that bygone era, for a guy to make $1 million a year was wow. Wow, I finally made $1 million. Now it's like you're only making $1 million a year. And Whale is writing that he can't comment because he doesn't follow baseball. And I normally don't on this channel. I don't talk about it. I mean, I've been following the Jays, like I said, if you read the description, back when I was in high school, they had what are called getaway days. They were usually on a Thursday. And the Jays, it would be the end of a homestand, and they'd be going on the road. So the Thursday game, getaway day, would be scheduled to start at 12:30 p.m., 12:30 in the afternoon. And the reason they started early was because they Friday they'd be playing in New York and Boston, Detroit, wherever they were going, like maybe to the West Coast. And what I would do on those days is I would go into school in the morning and I would let my teachers know. I would say, "Oh, by the way, you're not going to see me today. I'm going to the Jays game." It was a given. This would be in April, May, June. And then I would go jump on a local city bus, go to the GO train, which would take you right to Exhibition Stadium. When you got off the train, there was a 15-minute walk to the Mistake by the Lake Exhibition Stadium, which actually I liked that old stadium. And I went to 15, 20 games a year in total. I'd go to all the getaway games during the school year, but I'd be at 15, 20 games a year. We sat in the same place. It was called the Right Field Reserve Bench. Ticket price was around $7.50. I haven't been to a Jays game in years now. But the exhibition stadium, you were so close to the action, and everyone was packed in so tight because it was such a small little bandbox. And when the Sky Dome opened back in 1989, and I went to a game at the Sky Dome that very first year, when you could never get a ticket, every game was sold out because a lot of people, everyone just wanted to see the Sky Dome with a retractable roof and everything else. And so I managed to get to one or two games in 1989. And from a fan experience of the game of baseball, I actually longed for, and I used to like watching at Exhibition Stadium better. You were so much closer to the action. I actually snared during games. I snared two foul balls when I was there. The first one was off the bat of Cliff Johnson. There's a name. Who was a designated hitter for the Jays back in the 80s. Cliff Johnson hit what happened was I was in behind home plate, just below what they called the timeout lounge, where they had the concessions for beer and hot dogs and whatever. And I was there and I was in line to get a hot dog or some fries or something. I was in high school. I wasn't getting a beer. And a ball was hit and it into the walkway, into the concourse. So I left the line and I went and I joined the scrum that, this little pack of people that were all fighting over the ball. And I just worked my way in and I had my hands out like this and I'm wondering where's the ball, and then it hit my hand and rolled down and I took it and I just went like that, cradled it in against my chest and left the scrum. Everyone was still fighting for a non-existent baseball. Then I reached and I'm like, hey, I got the ball. And then the scrum broke up and they're all nah, nah. And then I realized, hey, it's a good way to get a baseball. So later I tried to do it again, but they had security along the concourse and they, yeah. What are you doing? Go back to your seat. You're not allowed to loiter here. So what I did after that is I'd take my glove, I'd have my glove with me, and I would go and get in line for hot dog or whatever. And I'd be at the back of the line. And then as soon as someone came in behind me, I'd go, you can go in front of me. You can go in front of me. You can go in front of me. And it was one of those times that I caught a second one on the fly with my glove. And that was on a Thursday getaway day. And when I would skip off school, I would tell my teachers, I would say, hey, I'm not going to be in class today. I'm going down to the Jays. Oh yeah, Blue Jay game, getaway day. Got it. They said, just keep it quiet. I was not a bad kid. I wasn't a straight A student honor roll or anything like that, but I was a good kid. I was, captain of the basketball team, coached. They actually had me coach the grade 9 midget team when I was in grade 13. I'm old. Ontario used to have 5 years in high school. Anyway, but the teachers would tell me, keep it quiet. Don't spread it around. And I did. But then, so I caught that ball at a game when I was supposed to be at school. And the following day at school, after I caught that ball, Mrs. Johnson, not one of my teachers, she came up to me and she said, "Hey, Gordon, nice catch." And I was like, "Uh-oh." She knows, my teachers didn't want me spreading around, that they were letting me skip. And then she walked up to me and quietly she said, "Don't worry, I was sick yesterday." Anyway, um, thanks for watching. Even Bloodhound, who doesn't seem to be a Blue Jay fan. I know baseball fans can be incredibly passionate. You might remember that during the World Series, I forget whether it was game 5, 6, 7, whichever it was, game 6 or 7, probably game 6. Shohei Ohtani came up to bat, and the Jays fans were chanting, "We don't need you. We don't need you." That was priceless. And I love Shohei Ohtani. I just like his demeanor. He's got class. He plays the game right. He and uh, as much as I don't like the fact that his agents used the Blue Jays as cannon fodder to build up his price. I don't like that, but I like Shohei Ohtani. And when he was asked to comment on what he thought of Toronto fans, he handled it like a pro, classy. He said something like, "Oh, that's fine. It's good. It's entertaining. You know, it shows they really love their team." Yeah, he said all the right things. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm a professing Christian. I haven't mentioned it yet in this video, but you'll see that in most of my other videos. So I like to end off by offering a blessing. Seems a little weird after having talked for nearly an hour about baseball and about the Blue Jays, but I know that there are a lot of people right now, crazy world we're living in. Look at what's happening down in Minnesota. We got the situation down in Venezuela. We've got what's happening in Iran right now with massive protests. And a lot of times the world feels like it's shaking. The ground is shaking under your feet. That's why I don't mind doing a video like this talking about baseball. Get away from the serious stuff. Baseball is fun. Baseball is fun. It's a game. It's not life. Um, and but what I like to do at the end of my videos is to offer a blessing that is from the book of Numbers in the Bible, if you're familiar with that book, or rather 66 books. I have read it cover to cover, and I'm in it pretty much every day. I can't, if I said that I was in the Bible every single day, I'd be lying. A day here and there comes along where I don't open it. But most days I do. I read some today. I was reading from Deuteronomy. But in the book of Numbers, at the end of chapter 6, Aaron speaks a blessing over God's covenant chosen people. And I like to share that blessing. And it is this: May the Lord bless and keep you. May the Lord God Almighty make his face to shine upon you. And may the Lord God Almighty grant you peace. Because I know the world is crazy. And if you tuned in and watched this and said, "Hey, I want to hear," well, yeah, there got to be dozens of Blue Jay specific YouTube channels that probably Blue Jay fans, a lot of them will watch all of them. And oh, here's someone else talking about it. I'll check out what he has to say. And you're welcome to subscribe to my channel, but content such as that I just provided tonight is rare. Every now and again, it's what I like about having a YouTube channel. If I feel like gabbing on about something that's on my mind, hey, it's my channel. I can talk about whatever I want. If I want to talk about Manchester United's soccer team, footy, I can do it. I can do it. My prime motivation in having this station is not money. I'm not, it's nice. I get a little bit, dimes, nickels, quarters, sometimes a loony toony. The very rare $5 bill drifts into my, you know, through the ads that it runs. Fair enough. But that's not my prime motivator. I do this because I just like injecting my voice into the public square, into what in the Bible refers to as the ecclesia. And anyway, so if you want to subscribe, please do. Thank you for the likes that I've gotten already. I do want to grow the channel. I do. you get there's this drug in the brain, dopamine. Um, it's in a class of chemicals in your brain called endorphins. And when you're engaged with on social media, on a YouTube station, when people like, when people comment, when people share, well, your dopamine levels go up. I think there's another one called serotonin. These chemicals in your brain increase and you become happier, more, it's a happy drug. And I think most people are familiar with it. I think we've all looked at our Facebook timeline or Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and oh, wow, my engagement score went up. I'm good. I'm worthy. And, getting back to faith, getting back to my Christian faith. Ultimately, that's not what, that's not where our, that's not where our worth lies. Our worth lies in within recognizing that we are the creation. We are not the creator. And anyway, I'm rambling at this point. God bless. Thank you for watching and check back later. This will probably be my last baseball video until the season goes. And hey, if the Jays storm out of the gate and do like the Detroit Tigers did in 1984 when they started the year 35-5, hey, if something like that happens, I may come along and go, hey, look at the video that I did all the way back in January, on January 16th. I nailed it. I told you. And if the Jays crap, if they crap out and everyone starts regressing, I wouldn't be shy about saying, you want to see someone who got it completely wrong? Check out my video from January. I thought they were going to explode, and now look at them, they're last place. We'll see what happens. Anyway, God bless. Thank you for watching. Take care, all.